It's intercepted by LeRoy Irvin at the 50, all the way to the 30, to the 20, to the 15, the 10, 5. Touchdown! A 50-yard return.
Irvin out in front. Touchdown!
Want to start off by asking, how'd you initially meet LeRoy?
Golfing. On the golf course. Yes, sir. Of course.
Yeah. What was your impression of him? And same question for you, LeRoy. What do you remember?
The new homie, man. Like, he's an amazing guy, man. We had a great time. And, a lot of, I'll be totally honest about this because I'm an ex-gangster rapper. A lot of these ex-football players are assholes and degenerates. They don't really like being around people, but this guy's a little bit different.
Yeah. All I know is that he was dressed to the nines. He had the right shoes on, the right shirt on, the right pants on, the right golf clubs. The golf clubs were cleaner than the ones that come out of the store, man. And he's a great golfer. But real cool dude, man. We conversated, we had fun. I couldn't really play because my back was hurting me. That I felt guilty about that, but I really enjoyed the conversations and hanging out.
That's sweet.
Arabian, I want to go back to the very beginning with you. I heard you on a couple of different interviews talk about that you got your first record deal at like maybe 15 and a half, 16, around that age for a couple of tracks. Did you ever feel like you weren't ready for that opportunity, or did music just come so naturally to you that it wasn't ever a big deal?
Yeah, so my mom was a classical pianist and taught, music, played in the church every single weekend, made me sing in the choir every single weekend, all of that. So I always had that in me. My father was a writer. He wrote over 100 books. He was also had a talk radio show on the radio station. So I was around that stuff, growing up. And, when it came time to, get into it, I was DJing. And so then again, on the stage, DJing in front of a bunch of elementary school kids at, 14, 15 years old. And then, when I was 15, I was DJing high school dances. So, I just had that whatever. And one day, Dr. Dre and DJ Yella and the whole Wrecking Crew, they were part of something called the Wrecking Crew back then. We were all doing like, up-tempo pop locking music, because that was the style back then in the early 80s. Everybody was doing up-tempo stuff on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And they told me one day, man, they're going in the studio to make a record. And my other homie, Egyptian Lover, said the same thing with Uncle Jam's Army. We're going to make a record. I'm like, man, I want to make a record. So I figured it out. Went in the studio by myself, man, saved up $500 and got a little money from a guy I was working with at his store, and went in the studio and made a record.
Wow. That's crazy.
I want to ask you a question too. You're from Compton, right?
Yes, sir.
And your dad and mom thought so highly of you, they sent you to J. Sarah Catholic High School.
Yes, they did. They said, man, I've been in Catholic school since kindergarten until I graduated.
And then your mom, like you said, she's a classical musician, teaches music. Your dad's on the radio, writes books and stuff. And do you think they ever thought that you become what they call a gangster rapper at that age when they sent you to J. Sarah?
No, like I didn't know that. Like I said, we were doing dance music. Me and Dre and all of us, all the up-tempo electro. We call it electro funk music, party music. And that's what we were into. And how we ended up going the gangster route was, and we didn't call it gangster. We were just reporting what was going on in Compton at the time. I think it was a big thing. The police were harassing people, and there was a lot of police brutality and stuff going on in the hood with the crackheads and the strawberries and all of this. And we were in a crossroads of, we were DJing these big parties, and because of all of the gang activity, those parties were getting shut down. So we couldn't do that anymore. So it was kind of like, well, let's report on what the hell is going on. And Dre had met Easy. Easy was straight gangster, more of a drug dealer from the hood. I call him the neighborhood pharmaceutical technician, And we met him, and the rest was history.
Wow.
You mentioned, your parents, your dad was in the radio station, your mom was playing like music as well. So, I mean, I'm curious what your experience was growing up, because I feel like sometimes your parents do something, you want to get away from that. But what was your experience with that? And I guess just how did their knowledge and skills kind of translate into your own your own sound. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was a crazy thing because, my mother and my father divorced when I was young, like maybe 2, 3 years old, right?
Mhm.
And I had crazy uncles and cousins that were doing all the dirt in the neighborhood. Like they was fighting police. That's how crazy my uncles and cousins were. And one of them was a Black Panther. The other ones were just straight gang. Matter of fact, funny little story. The the guy who invented the Crips gang came to my uncle's school at Centennial High School in Compton one day to recruit for the Crips. My uncle was more down with like Black Power and the stuff before that. No gangs, just kind of more unity stuff, Black Panther movement stuff. And he beat up the Crip dude at the school. And the Crip dude came back another day and apologized and was trying to recruit him. Said, "Man, we all about this right here," but he didn't go for it. But my uncles and cousins, I feared them more than anybody in Compton. And they wanted to keep me out of the streets, right? Because I was the only child, and they were my influence, with my moms and pops. So I thank them for keeping me out of the streets and into other stuff like books and electronics, and because they were so bad they got sent away to the military. And when they would come back from the military, they would bring stuff home from overseas: ham radios, synthesizers. The first synthesizer I ever played with was a Art 2600. I still have it in my storage unit. That was one of that big synthesizer with all the wires and cables, and like a mad scientist thing. So like 7, 8 years old, I was playing with that.
That's really
Wow.
cool. If I'm not mistaken, so the crib leader, was that Tukey? Is that who they call? Was that
No,
him? That was someone else?
Tookie's like second generation or
Oh,
third
okay. Yeah.
generation. My uncle is probably 70. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Oh, so a
this
little
is
bit while
like
before.
in the early to mid 70s. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. But I knew Tookie though. We all knew those guys, Tookie and
Yeah.
Monster Cody. We knew all of them for sure.
Yeah, I grew up in Inglewood, so I remember the name, so I was
Oh
like, "Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I remember that. That's crazy."
yeah.
So were they rolling 60s or South Side or in
I
Hood?
think so. I think Monster Cody, if I'm not mistaken, was a 8 tray. I think Tookie was like rolling 60 or down that way. Because I'm gonna tell you a 1 minute, 30-second quick story, man, and you can go look it up. Ice T tells the funniest story about Tookie, right? He goes, man, he was living in his apartment with his girlfriend over like near Crenshaw or something like that. And one day his girlfriend was outside wearing some tight booty shorts and stuff, just outside. And he's in the living room, like lifting weights, like, "Ugh." Like he said, "Man, I felt like Hercules. I'm in there just swole up." And she runs in the house and goes, "Hey, there's some dudes outside messing with me." So he's like, "What? What?" So he goes to the door and he walks outside. He said, "Oh, God damn it, it's Tookie." He's like, he said it was like Tookie barefoot somebody and killer somebody in a lowrider. And he was like, "Ah," and ran back in the house and told her, "Don't you ever do that again."
Oh, man.
That's
It's
funny.
wild. I would've done the same thing, turn my ass right back around.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for Ice to say that, it had to be critical.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So you mentioned all these things keeping you away from the gang and the street life, but you also mentioned before that you play football.
Yep.
Was there any point in time where you thought you might be able to do something for real, college level, pro level, playing ball?
Yeah, man. I had all kind of offers and stuff because I was the crazy thing for me is when I was a kid, I was a really, really big kid. When I played Pop Warner, 'cause I played Pop Warner from when I was like, man, 6, 7 years old in Compton, right? And every year up until I went to high school, I played Pop Warner, and they made fun of me my freshman year of high school because I was still playing Pop Warner at the park. And they was like, you playing that old park ball. I'm like, dude, we playing in Compton, man. We'll destroy you. Like they didn't understand the
Mhm.
mentality. Compton football at the park was crazy, right? And I went to St. Bernard High School first in Sarah. St. Bernard High School freshman was like a joke, right? So I was like the biggest kid in my freshman class. And when I was playing Pop Warner, I was always overweight. I wasn't fat. I was just bigger than everybody else. So
Mhm.
they thought I was going to be huge. I was a pulling guard
Wow.
and a defensive end all the way up until my freshman year. So I was used to hitting people. but I was really fast. And I didn't know I was fast because nobody ever timed me. But when I got to high school, they had that drill where, they give you a football and the other dude's supposed to tackle you one-on-one.
Mhm.
I ran the dude over. And then they did the other way around and I tackled the dude. And the coach was like, wow, like you could hit. I'm like, yeah, I'm a freaking lineman. And he said, no, you're not. You're little. For high school, you're small.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And next thing I know, I started doing runs and I was running like 4.2s and 4.3s. And by the time I was a senior we had something in LA called the Lions game. I ran a 4.19 twice. And
Wow.
they was like, get this for scholarship somewhere. But I was making records at the time. So it was kind of like, well, I got my way out.
So you weren't just fast; you were like
Yeah, I had like
fast.
3,000
Incredible.
yards one season because my coach was just like, pitch left, pitch right, just run me around the end. Nobody could catch me. So, and I always used to say, this is the funniest thing. My coach would always ask me, he goes, my last name is Nazelle. He goes, Nazelle, how you running, Nazelle? I'm like, running scared, coach, running scared.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What could have been?
Oh, what still is though? I'm old ass Steph Curry now in the gym, so I play basketball and out running little cats.
That's
So
great.
Hey, but
yeah,
listen, you've been hustling for a long time, right? You've been
sure.
grinding. You've been grinding all your life. I read somewhere where you used to go in your dad's studio and make mixtapes, and then go back to school and sell them.
Yeah, I was selling for because we was I wouldn't say we poor in Compton, but I didn't have Twinkies and all that good stuff. Like I remember my lunch meal was like weenies. Like you get a weenie sandwich. My mom would take two weenies, cut them in half. She would cook them, cut them in half, put them on some bread with some ketchup. I like ketchup, and that was my lunch. And maybe what was a cheap Twinkie? It was a zinger. As a zinger,
Yeah.
right? So I'd be in school trying to negotiate up to something, a cupcake or Twinkie or something else. And when I started making mixtapes, man, I was getting like money and food. So yeah.
Is that what really got you going into the music industry? That particular making those mixtapes and being around your mom and then being in the studio with your dad?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Because I had never thought about being a DJ, but when Pops had his radio show, I actually met Prince once. He had K's radio station back in the day, and Prince came in for an interview, and they were outside playing basketball. Some little dude with an afro. I didn't know who he was. I was a little kid. And Prince wasn't big at the time, but I was in the opposite control room playing with the records, and they had those little look like 8 tracks, but they were cartridge carts. You would put it in and you could push the button and it would play the song. So I was just taking all that stuff and putting them on cassettes and taking them to school because a lot of that music you couldn't get. Only the radio stations had it. So yeah.
Dang.
So,
You're talking about. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
so you DJing? Are you DJing now, or what are you doing now? I know you got into some tech stuff with what's it? What are you doing? You doing some tech stuff? I heard.
Man, I'll just say this, dude. Like Cat Williams says, I'm doing everything, everything in tech. Yeah, but yeah, I tech stuff, and but I still DJ around the world, man. I travel internationally doing DJ sets, and I mean, I just got back from Dubai and Saudi Arabia not too long ago. I did a crazy man. It's so funny when you get old, people start wanting to do stuff with you that you never thought you'd work with. Like my boy, his name is Scott Page. He's the horn player from Pink Floyd. So me and him in Saudi Arabia and Dubai doing like a mashup. Like I'm DJing Pink Floyd songs and he's playing the horn. So
Wow,
it's crazy.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a combo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. You said you saw Prince, and you're talking about they were playing ball out there, and I'm sure you've seen it, the Chappelle skit, where he's
Oh yeah.
all. I'm just wondering if did you see that picture? Was it like that? We saw dressed up, or was it? You said it was before he was all big time, right?
When I saw him, he had on some jeans. I think he had on some jeans and some boots.
Okay,
And
nothing too crazy. Yeah,
this was this was like this was like pre-Paisley Prince. This was like when he was wearing like the bikini underwear, Prince. So this was naked on a horse Prince, but he could
wow,
be
yeah,
like this thing. So it was kind of
yeah.
dressed pretty regular.
Who was
Yeah.
taller,
That's
you or
crazy.
Prince?
Oh hell yeah! I mean, Prince was like 5'2". I'm 5'10". I pride my 10. I used to be 5'10 and a half, but I found out as you get older, you shrink.
Right.
So Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. Um, Leroy kind of alluded to this. You have your hand in a lot of different business ventures, music, gaming, tech. Just and then you kind of already talked a little bit about this though, but like, where does that entrepreneurial spirit come from? Is that just something you've kind of always had, or is it like you said, you were making those mixtapes, to get a little bit better snacks and stuff like that?
Well, like I said, being the only child in Compton, when it was really dangerous and certain where we lived at, it was you could really go out. So in my room, I created this thing where I was always doing something, right? And then, on the weekends, I got to stay with my uncles. And like I said, they had the ham radios. Like I had a voice like this when I was a kid, right? I had a really deep voice. So I was on ham radios talking to women and, like, hey, how you doing? And I just really got into technology at such a young age, man. And then I've always had this like creative mind. Like my friends call me Willy Wonka because I create, like, I don't know if you can see behind me because I've got like, this is the craziest thing. So this is my recording studio. So over there is like a mixing console and all of that stuff. But behind me, I've literally got laser, engraver. I've got like a vinyl cutting machine and then
Wow.
sublimation. Like I can do so much stuff, man. And I prototype things like I got 3D printers. So for me, it's always trying to create something cool and something new.
Yeah, dang. Is this? I guess is it more self taught or is it like something you picked up along the way or went to school for at any point?
All self-taught, man. Like, I remember when I first went in the recording studio to make my first record. Never been in the studio before in my life. I just knew how to play the piano because my mother taught me, right? And the guy in the studio, it was his studio, it was just me and him, and he was showing me stuff like this and that, and like he had to sync the synthesizer to the console and to the tape deck so that he could, put it on down and you could replay it, and sync everything together with the drum machine and all of that. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And he had a computer, early computer, right? And I'm like, whoa, so I need a computer. And he said, yeah, it'd probably be good to get one because if you want to do digital music like this. So I bought a computer, self-taught myself how to code, started messing around with sprite animation and then start getting into animation, going to conventions. And I ended up doing like the craziest thing. I did all the visual effects on the first series of the Power Rangers, for Saban and did Silver Surfer, Adam's Family, Casper, a lot of motion pictures and film and television and video games over the last 42 years. So
That's a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
man,
really cool.
I'm a crazy like my mind. My mother said that she thinks Walt Disney threw up in my brain. So
Where do you get time to play golf at? You create so much stuff. Well, how can you play golf? I
hey,
know you're a good golfer, but are you cheating out there? Or are you just
nah, man. So while you still sleep, I always tell people why all you guys are still sleeping in your bed thinking of sugar plums in your head. I am out there on the golf course before it gets light. Like literally tomorrow morning, I will be at the gate of the golf course like a couple other crazy fools who just golf fanatics with no light, dark, waiting for it to open because I usually don't book 2 times too often because I don't know my schedule. Like it's all sporadic. But as a single golfer, you just show up because somebody who booked a foursome, everybody got a friend that's a flake in their crew
right?
that won't show up or, lie or whatever. I'll be there and they never show up. So I always get out in the first or second group at like 5:50, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm
Now,
done by
where do you
9.
usually golf at? What's your favorite course out there?
So I live on the west side, like by the beach, like near Venice Beach. It is hard over here. There's a little 9-hole executive course by me, and then we got a place by the airport called Westchester.
I
We
played
call
there.
it Death
Yeah,
Chester.
everybody plays
Yeah,
Westchester. Everybody
Westchester.
plays Westchester.
Dude, if you play Westchester, like 99.9% of the people play Westchester can't play golf.
Yeah,
So it's like the war zone, dude. There's balls flying
I
everywhere,
played
and they
Westchester.
don't have enough trees to
Yeah.
stop the ball from hitting you. So yeah,
That's hilarious. Arabian, I wanna talk a little bit about the track Supersonic. Can you
yes, sir.
tell us how that record got put together? And also, were you the one doing the beatbox on that throughout the beat?
Oh no, that shout out to Baby D,
Oh,
Dania
she did it.
Burke.
Okay.
Yeah, Baby D's the human beatbox female edition. Me and Dre used to hang out with these girls, right? We knew them from coming out to the shows and stuff like that, and And one day I was in the studio, and the girls came to the studio and was like, we want to make a record. And I'm like, well, y'all can't rap. Like, I was working on, I'm also known as Professor X.
Yeah.
I was working on this Professor X stuff, right? And I just finished the song, and I had about 3-4 hours of studio time left over. I was like, all right, let's mess around. So we made 2 songs. We made a song called Another Hoe Bites the Dust, off the, doom, 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 Another Hoe Bites the Dust. And it was talking about the real Roxanne Shantae, all of them girls from the East Coast. They were dissing them. And I was like, that's kind of cool. But in my opinion, at this point in juncture in your career, since you just started, y'all should be messing with the East Coast rap chicks because they like fire. So I said, let's do one more song. I did this really, really quick song called Supersonic. The girls wrote some crazy stuff to it, put that on the B side. But when it got to the radio, they heard the B side and they flipped it over and started playing Supersonic, and it blew up. Who knew? And we had to go back and repress Supersonic as the A side. So yeah.
That's a great track.
Let me ask you another question. I know you've heard this before, but I know you guys started out NWA in '86, I think, something like 85, 86.
85, yep.
And you left the group by 88, 89?
80, like probably 88, because right at Straight Outta Compton came out in 87, and we started touring. And then that's when I realized, like, I like to eat and pay my bills and stuff like that. And at the time, our manager, Jerry Heller, was doing some scandalous stuff, because how I figured it out, unlike the other guys in the group, 2 things. One, I had just moved out. Like, I moved out when I was like 16 or 17. Everybody else, Dre, Yella, Cube, Ren, they were all still living at home or with their aunts. Even Easy was living at home with his moms. Everybody was at home. I had an apartment and a car payment, right? So I needed to get paid, right? So we're doing all this stuff, and we're not really getting any money at the time. And I had put the song Supersonic on Dream Team Records, which was another homies of mine. And the LA Dream Team were like the hottest group out at the time, because they had Dream Team in the House and Rockberry and all these songs. The song was so big, they were so big that I went to the drive-in movie. That's the first ever like music video I seen at a drive-in movie. I was like, oh my God, like they're in a drive-in movie playing their video. So I was like, okay, let's put Supersonic there. We did that, had some issues with business with the guy who ran the Dream Team. I took it back, put it on Ruthless Records, because we had just started our own label. It blew up again on there. And that's how I realized I wasn't getting paid, because Jerry wasn't giving me my money. And I kept complaining about it to everybody else in the crew, but wouldn't nobody listen to me, because it wasn't really time for NWA to make that big money yet. But I'm like, dude, like I'm not making money. We doing these shows. We're not getting the money like we supposed to. So I got me an attorney, and I bounced, man, right in the middle of Straight Outta Compton. And everybody thought I was stupid. But I'm like, I thought we making records to make money, not to just say, oh, I'm making records. So that's when I bounced, got an attorney, got paid, and went on and did my own thing. And went to I remember went to a concert, because I was still cool with everybody. Rolled up in a brand new Porsche. Cube was like, where'd you get that from? I was like, oh, you need to talk to Jerry Heller, our manager. Thank you, goodbye. And then he left right after that. So
do you think, is that what actually broke up NWA though in the end? Was it the money, or was it just easy?
No, it was the money, man. It was Jerry Heller, our manager. Yeah. He was doing some stuff, and it was kind of the divide and conquer, because originally there was nobody in charge. Like, we was NWA, we was homies. We split everything equally. When we made records and cassettes or whatever we was making, everybody got your box. Here's your 2 boxes. Here's your 2 boxes. You go sell them. That was your money. But when Jerry Heller got involved, it became a business, and then Eazy-E was head of it. And there wasn't nothing wrong with that. We didn't care, but we thought we were still all a part of the, collective to get paid equally. And it didn't happen like that. And the money is what broke it up. It was no like inner animosities between the group. It was more between the management.
So were you guys with Death Row then, or what company?
Nah, that was Ruthless. So we created Ruthless Records, right? Death Row was the label when Dre finally left and went with Suge. Suge used to be NWA's bodyguard.
Right.
And he knew I think it was what Freeway Rick
If you're
gave him the money.
rolling
Right.
60s.
Yeah, to start Death Row, and he told Dre like, I got this deal over here. Come on over and let's get this thing started. And I went over there once because me and Dre and Yella had a little meeting at my apartment. And Dre was like, yeah, I'm gonna go over here and do this. You should come by to the studio. I walked in the studio. I ain't that stupid. I walked in the studio and I seen a whole bunch of people that I didn't know, but I knew from the hood, smoking, drinking, and playing with guns. And I'm like, I'm out. Like, because
Yeah.
it wasn't a good look for me. So
Yeah. Suge tried out for the Rams.
that's what I heard. Yeah.
He was at UNLV, tried out for the Rams, and when the Rams released him, he went to the defensive coordinator's office and threatened him. They had to call the police on him.
Wow.
Wow,
So he
that's
was doing
crazy.
that stuff back then.
He was crazy back then. Yeah.
Wow. Oh well. All right.
He did the right thing, man.
Arabian, you said that you took the Supersonic record from Dream Team
Yeah.
and then you put it into Ruthless. How does that actually work? Like you dropped it under that label and then you took it back. How does that
Yeah, but
happen?
I own the record. You know, I paid for it. I produced it. And back then, like I said, none of us knew what we were doing. There were no contracts. It was just homies. We knew everybody. It was like, hey man, you got to and how labels worked back then. You could say label, but none of us really had. There was no legitimate label. Like we weren't on Sony or Interscope or Capitol or EMI Records back then. There was a pressing plant called Macola Records in Hollywood. And you would just go there with your song and pay, and they would press it up and give you the boxes. So Dream Team was doing that. We were doing that. Everybody was making their own record labels at the time and doing it. So when I wasn't getting paid from Dream Team Records, I just took the record back. Like, man, you can't use this no more. We're gonna put this on Ruthless, and that's what happened.
Got you. But you said before that you and Dre kind of started Ruthless. How did when Jerry stepped in, how did he become in control of the money? Like what did he do to slide himself in there?
Well, like I said, it was all just press records, sell them in the store, like literally physically drive around and, like hand
Mhm.
records off. He got involved and started doing deals for us. Like, matter of fact, the first ever um, recording deal on Ruthless Records was Supersonic, with JJ Fad. They got a record deal before NWA, believe it or not. They got a deal on Atlantic Records on Atco. And because of that record being so hot, it was easy for NWA to get a deal because nobody wanted to sign crazy gangster rap back then. Like, a major record label wasn't gonna sign that stuff. But because we already had a hit record, they literally thought we knew what we were doing. Like, oh, they know what they're doing. Let's give this a shot. And we ended up going to at the time it was what do you call it? On Capitol Records. It'll come to me again. I forgot already. I keep wanting to say Interscope, but not Interscope. It was another label that we were on. But yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Was it I know a lot of your stuff was under
Yeah, Priority.
priority. Yeah.
Priority Records. Yeah. Yeah. And Priority Records' big hit before NWA was the California Raisins. That was literally their hit, was the California Raisin song.
That's hilarious.
At the
Yeah.
detour.
Yeah.
I'm interested what you think of AI in terms of like the music space and gaming and any of the other adventures you got going on. Like, I guess just like, what are your general thoughts about it? And is it something that you use or you kind of like against AI? Because there's a lot of different things going along with it.
Yeah. I just had a pitch competition the other day and did a keynote and told a lot
Mhm,
of the college students the same thing. Like, look, you need to be on AI. Regardless if you hate it or love it,
mhm.
you need to be a part of it because it's not going away. You can't wish things away, right? So you can talk about it bad, saying you're never going to use it. Well, guess what? If you don't use it, if you don't understand it, and you're not a part of it, you may not have a job. You may not be able to function. Just like when computers came and cell phones, all the people, I talk to my uncle every day. I'm like, hey man, did you see that post I put up on Instagram? I don't know nothing about that stuff. Yeah. I got a phone, but I just got, I'll just use it for this. And I'm like, dude, like this is the future. So you really need to be on AI. I use it a lot. I understand it. I also understand the downsides of AI and
Mhm.
the dangers of it. And I think that if you know that, we need people like me and other people who understand the dangers of AI to actually be a part of it to help keep that balance in check.
For
Because if
sure.
you don't, we're gonna all go down the dark side, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna think there was like a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, there was like a couple AI songs coming out from artists
Yeah,
that they said, and it wasn't their actual music.
yeah,
So I'm just
yeah.
like, it gets a really tricky slope. Like, is if that does make money, does that go back to the artist, which you probably should? And that,
Well, there's no law yet, but I think that's what's going to come down the pipe is, any derivative of an artist or
Mhm.
an actor or a likeness or a sound or whatever, it's got to go to the original creator of that, no matter how many versions of AI does something. But what's scary is the fact that, the spoofing out there. I just saw something the other day, we know what's going on with Diddy. I saw something where they had Diddy saying all kind of outlandish stuff on like social media. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You can look at it and tell, nah, he would never say that. But it's
yeah,
out there, and dumb people will believe it.
And
You know,
with AI though, right? If AI can do all that, what happens when they get into the banking industry?
there you go.
You start saying, "Hey, well, AI created this, so the residuals need to go to, let's say, Arabian Prince for them perpetrating you." But they send that money to your bank. AI takes that money out and brings it. Is AI going to be that big? You think? I mean, because
Yeah, it already is. And I'm gonna tell you something that we don't even think about. Forget about AI. We're so tethered, like remember Skynet from the
yeah,
Terminator, right?
yeah,
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 We're there. This is it right here. Because if you think about it right now, back in the day, when you went to the bank, remember you guys are younger than me. I'm 58 going on 59. And it's one of the things when you went to the bank, they kept all your information on a card. They wrote it in with a pencil, like,
yeah.
okay, you got this
All
amount of
right,
money.
yeah,
They put it in a little thing in
yeah,
the drawer.
yeah.
It's all digital. If the power goes out, guess what? You can't get your money,
Right,
right?
right.
So if AI takes over and shuts down the grid, or if, God forbid, some foreign entity or somebody, who's against government or whatever, you see it every day. They're hacking, they're hacking, they're hacking. If they shut down the grid or they shut down the power, no one's going to be able to get your money.
Right,
And even if you can use your credit cards, guess what? The terminals are down.
right.
I've seen that happen where, you go, American Express. Oh, they got an outage right now. You can't use your American Express. I was in some country and that happened. And I'm like, hey, luckily I had other credit cards, but it was like, you can't always depend on this digital age we're in. And I think with AI, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah,
dang. Yeah, it's scary to think about. It's like as you're saying that, I'm just like going through my, I have the credit card on my phone now, where you just like, boom. I don't carry cash. Like I don't think most people do anymore. So
Yeah,
just
Japan,
gets you
they
thinking
don't.
about like the rabbit hole, like how far,
How far we go down. And if
yeah.
your battery goes dead on your phone while you're out, guess what? You can't eat. You
Oh
can't put
yeah,
gas in your car. So we're there. I mean, we got to live a life. We got to roll with it. We got to ride on
for
the
sure.
rail. But it's what it is.
yeah. I never carry cash. I'm always using my cards. And I live down here in Mexico, so it gets a little difficult. So
Oh, you're in Mexico? I didn't know you were in Mexico. What part?
I live in Rosarito Beach. I tell everybody I live on the safe side of the Trump wall.
Yeah. Hey, I used to go to Rosarita, and get that lobster
Yeah,
back
I
in the
live
day.
2 miles north of Puerto Nuevo.
Okay, is that ship still in the ocean that you're using to film with? That
Uh,
or is it gone?
Titanic and
Yeah,
yeah,
the pirate ship
it's
or
still
whatever
there.
it was. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's still
Oh man, I didn't even know that.
yeah, it's right
Very
down the
cool.
street from my house. Yeah, but I live
Nice.
down here, man. I love it. But
I can imagine. Cool deal.
LeRoy, they got a boat near your house, and that's what they use to film like a lot of the big movie boat scenes. I didn't realize. That's
yeah,
sick.
but
Yeah.
the Universal Studio. I mean, Fox. Is it Fox Studio? No, it's Fox. Fox Studios is right down the street near La Potla, and they have a big, like 6 different big old warehouses where they film a lot of movies. They filmed Titanic there. They filmed Pirates of the Caribbean. So cheap labor. They come down here and film. But yeah, Puerto Nuevo, I go there quite often, right down the street.
Oh,
Very
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
And it's relatively safe down here. Everybody says it's dangerous. I'm like, yeah, say it's dangerous because I don't want too many Americans coming down here spoiling my time.
Yeah. I love it.
That's hilarious.
So speaking about golf, right? What did is your handicap now? What made you start loving golf so much? Your free time or just your peace of mind to get away and just relax and do something?
So I got the ultimate hate you story, right? Um, this what the hat I got in my new little this hoodie is called Goat. So this is my new golf brand I'm launching, and I'm not try to sell it online,
What's it
but
called? What's it called again?
Goat Golf with
Goat
three
golf.
G's. It stands for two things: greatest golf game of all time and greatest golf gear of all time. And our motto is very simply, everybody's a goat. Because I'm gonna tell you this: no matter how good of a golfer you are or bad of a golfer you are, if you're a terrible golfer, you may hit one shot, chip one in,
Yeah.
hit a hole in one,
Yeah.
and you're freaking Tiger Woods, and no one can talk to
And
you.
you're coming
But
back.
we're building this brand to embrace everyone. And if you can hardly see it, but everything on this shirt is like bogey, double bogey, triple
Wow.
bogey, snowman, topped it, duffed it, in the
Oh,
water, got a
wow.
cuss word over here. So every bad word in golf is on the hoodie.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
our first collection
That's
called
nice.
it's called the Hacker Duffer Collection. So if you're a hacker and a duffer, we got clothes for you. So, but anyway,
How do you get,
yeah.
how do you, is there a website you go to or what? What's the website?
Yeah, it's just goatgolf.com. We're gonna do our first drop probably in the next couple weeks, so tell your fans or everybody to go sign up because we're gonna drop some heat in a minute. But how I got in, back to your question, when I was 16, maybe 17 years old, I made my first record and my mom's made me get an attorney because I didn't know anything about this stuff, right? This was before NWA. And my attorneys used to go play golf at a little 9-hole executive golf course. One that had lights where you could go after work and play, like even Westchester. I didn't even know till recently Westchester stays open until 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And no way in hell I'd be out there in the dark playing with the crazy folks. Hit balls everywhere. But anyway, I went out to pick up a check for $3,000, biggest money I'd ever seen, and I was gonna go buy rims for my car. I just got a car, get this money, buy rims. My attorney at the time was like, here, gave me a golf club, said, hit the ball. And I'm like, man, I won't play this stupid ass game. Like, nah, So I tried to hit the ball a few times, missed the ball, never touched the ball because I'm trying to do the whole baseball thing. He showed me something. He's like, I want you to just hit down on the ball like it's a hammer. And this is a nail. The ball's a nail. Boom, it's a hammer. Hit down, ball goes that way. So I did that. Ball went out, a little short, 120, 130-yard hole. Hit the ball that way. We get up there, can't find my ball. My ball was in the hole. So I had a hole in one the first time I ever touched the golf ball. Never saw it go in. But
Wow.
me being a stupid rapper, non-golfer person I was, I'm like, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? And they were trying to like, oh man, like you don't understand what you did. And because of that money I was supposed to spend on my rims, I bought the most expensive golf bag,
Oh,
golf
wow.
club, everything to buy, but I couldn't play golf for like 5 years because there was no golf channel
Right.
in 1984.
Right.
So I had to learn on my own, and over time I got good because I was playing so much.
You had a very successful career. And I know you probably had this question a bunch of times, but do you ever regret leaving NWA?
No, because if you think about it, like I said, the timeline is kind of weird. Like I was there from the beginning to Straight Outta Compton.
Right.
What happened after that? Cube left during Straight Outta Compton as well. And then after that was, another out, not even another album. I think it was just one more EP after that, and that was it.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like I left, I might have left before the hype of Straight Outta Compton. That's why like they pulled my character out. I had some legal battles with Eazy's wife still to this day about money and stuff like that. So she pulled my character out the movie. There's some scenes you can go online and you can see my character standing in the back or, sitting on this scene or that. Yeah, but my character doesn't say anything, but, I still get paid. That's all I care about. You know what I mean? So it's one of those
Does that
where,
irk you that they took you out of the movie? I mean, you're definitely a part of the group, and you were founder of the group. I mean, it's like a stab in the back, 'Cause
yeah,
eventually everybody left.
yeah, no, I don't care because I actually like it for the simple fact that I don't like the fame. You know what I'm saying? Like the freedom that I have that Cube doesn't have, that Dre doesn't have. Like I can go walk to anywhere I want. I can walk in the mall, I can go to the store, I can go to the golf course, do wherever I want.
Wow.
Every now and then, like I was pumping gas the other day at Costco, some dude was like, "Man, I know you." I'm like, "Huh? I know you from somewhere." I'm like, "Oh, maybe you do." I don't know, maybe you see me, maybe you see me on the Golf Channel. I don't know. I'm just laughing. But they probably see me on a documentary or something because I don't look like I looked back then with the hair and all of that. But I actually like the fact that I'm not being pushed out there like that because it's all about business more than fame to me. That's how I look at things. Yeah.
I feel the same way because I can go anywhere I want and be who I want to be, and no one even knows that it's me unless I tell somebody or something.
Yeah.
If I go with Eric Dickerson, he has no freedom. Everywhere he goes, somebody talking
I
about him.
know.
We're gonna report on him. I mean, it's like I don't want that. I wouldn't want that life.
Yeah. You don't want the Diddy life.
No.
In more ways than one, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Arabian, I gotta ask this before we close out here. You were a part of the making of the Gangsta track, right?
Hmm.
Whose idea was it to put that cut of William Devon on Easy's verse? Because I love that part of when he says the same thing that he does, and they kind of mix it in there.
Yeah. We were big record heads. We would go to the record store every day, every other day, and just kind of look at, you know, what we could get and sample. And actually, here's the funny thing: we hardly ever sample. So if you go back and listen to NWA, there are not many samples on there. There may be some things that we scratched in, but we really didn't sample like other artists sample for two reasons. One, you got to realize how far back NWA was, how far back NWA was. And it was one of those things where sampling machines in 85, there wasn't much sampling time. Like it was like point 0.7 seconds of sampling time. That's all you would get. So you couldn't do a long record. On a
Mhm.
drum machine, it was like maybe an orchestra hit or a kick or a snare or something like that. So not until later you could get into longer samples. So we had to be more creative, and we would hire bass players, guitar players to actually come in and replay stuff. And we would fly in a record like on that bump, and we flew it in because it was something really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that part.
I did want to ask a little bit because I did see that you had Goat Golf. Did you also have Goat PC? Is that right?
Yes, sir. So I own a gaming streaming PC company. It was born during the pandemic because, I've been in the gaming space, esports. I've been a gamer. I used to play professional gaming before it was called esports. So I used to play. I was a Quake champion. Used to play Quake against people like um, Fatality and all those cats. So um, during the pandemic, one of my partner companies, which is a big PC company, said something to me he never should have said to me. He goes, "Man, we're 30,000 units back ordered on our PCs. Like we can't get it in Best Buy. We can't get it anywhere because Intel doesn't have the chips to support it. 'Cause that's when they're doing the big chip shortage." But he said, but what's interesting is if you have a smaller company, you could get chips because they won't give us 30,000. They'll give us 10,000, maybe 5,000, but they have to
Mhm.
still support everyone else. So a smaller company can get 100, maybe 200. I'm like, sure, I can sell 100 computers. So I started this company, started making these computers, and now most of the streamers, like big names like Z Trip, the DJ, Questlove, Jazzy Jeff, Little John, a lot of streamers on Twitch and YouTube are actually using my computer right now.
Wow,
Yeah.
Incredible.
that's really cool. Yeah, I got into computers around that time COVID happened, and it was like, and I saw you did that too, and then you were on Twitch and all this other stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, man, that's honestly, I could talk to you forever about video games. I'm sure you have plenty of experience with them.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Um, now we're be mindful of your time. So, is anybody else?
I just want to say, man, appreciate you, brother. When I'm walking again, I was an 8 handicap or a 9. When I start walking again, I at least need 18 to 25 strokes.
I got you. We ain't gonna get. I'm a two. Like, and I always say this in the wintertime, I'm a two. because it's a little damper and the ball doesn't go as far. And I'm getting older, and it seems like every week my ball goes a little shorter and shorter because I'm getting older and I got to stretch more. But in the summertime, I'm closer to scratch, because the ball goes a little further. So yeah, we go out and play. But I'm gonna tell you, since you got chip replaced, you're gonna have to stretch every day because I'm starting to feel it now from all those years of me just assuming that I was young and realizing that I need to be
You're right.
stretching.
I
So
have
I'm
to
doing
start
all,
working out more because
yeah, I'm stretching every day.
I still think I'm 19. That's the problem. In my head, I'm
That's the problem here
19.
as well. Yeah, yeah, but I tell you what, got to get up at 4 o'clock and go pee.
All right. 4 o'clock. Shoot, 2 o'clock. Hey, I'm thinking pro ballers right now. I'll probably be peeing all night. And I can't walk, so I gotta have a pee cup right next to my
Ooh,
bed so I can pee right there because won't make it to the bathroom.
we'll make it. I love it. I love it. Well, get better, man, so we can
I
get back on
appreciate
the
it, man.
court. Now, I'll tell Icky you said what's up.
All right, for
All
sure,
right,
man. Be
bye.
good, man. Thank you.